Jai Hind everyone. I am Vaishali Rastogi, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering at AKGEC, Ghaziabad. Today I am having the topic functional units of a computer system and their interconnection in the subject of computer organization and architecture. Let's start with the topic. Today we are going to study about the basis topic of this subject, because if you go with the syllabus you can find that in unit 1 this is the first topic of our syllabus. So let's start. Before going with the topic, I just want to give you a small introduction of computer organization and architecture. So here you can see there is a definition of computer organization and architecture is the study of internal working structure and implementation of computer system. Architecture and organization, there are two words which are completely merged with the computer. So we have studied in earlier about the computer's basics in our school days or in our first year, that we know what is computer actually. But here the term organization and architecture is defining the internal structure, how it is working and how it is designing on the basis of hardware. So in architecture, if we are talking about the architecture, architecture is nothing but in the computer system, same as anywhere else. Like we see what is architecture in our real life. We see that how it is looking like. Basically, it also refers with the externally visual attributes of the system, and also the component from which computers are built. It is basically a computer organization. So whenever we are thinking about how the computer are building, we are building that it is the completely definition of computer organization. So in contrast, the computer architecture is the science of integrating those components to achieve a level of functionality and performance. Whenever we have to achieve a kind of functionality and performance from our computer system, we are only considering about the architecture. Architecture and organization are completely architecture and organization are the two basic parallel hands of a computer designing. If we are designing on the basis of hardware, we have to think about the organization and architecture of both parameters. So let's move forward. So the beginning, we have to start with the beginning. We should know that where it all started. So the first among the electronic computer was the ENIAC, designed by John Murphy and J. Presper. Then this basically our first ENIAC designed by John Murphy and J. Presper. Okay, so this was the first and the beginning component where we started from designing our computer system. So this, although a great achievement altogether, was not of much importance in front of standards of architecture and organization. The programming of this kind machine required manual change of circuitry by expert individuals by changing connections or connecting wire and lots of switches. It was sure basically a tedious task. Besides, ENIAC was not a digital machine basically. Okay, so it worked on decimal system much similar to the way we humans do in our normal life. So it was the small basic introduction of the beginning of computer organization and architecture. So let's move forward. We should know about the history of computer system. It's a very small introduction of history, where we all know that there are so many generations of computer system exist: first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation, and so on. So here I am talking about the basic history of computer system. So before VLSI is basically very large scale integration at around 1945 to 1978. We have ENIAC, IAS, IBM, PDP-8, and after VLSI we are from 1978 we are working with the microprocessor. So it is a basic image of a history of computer system. Again, before going with the functional unit directly, we should know what are the basic terminology we are going to study in this particular subject, because without knowing the basic terminology, how we can build the complete functionality of computer system. So what are the basic terminology? I have mentioned some few over here. After upcoming lecture, after some lecture, we will discuss more about them. So first, if I talk about, we all already heard the word computer, because in the subject it is mentioned over here, computer organization architecture. So here, a device that accepts input, process data, stores data and produce output, all according to series of sorted instructions. Means it is basically a device which accepts some input and it process the data, whatever the data is getting from the input side. It process all the data here. Then it also stores, because sometimes we have to store the data for our further use. It also stores somewhere in place, which can be any kind of registers or memory. Okay, so it is also stores data and also produce some output. Sometimes it also stores the output too. It produces the output, and all these functionality is basically done by a computer system. So we can say this is a small functionality. What device we can say this is a computer. So next we are having a different terminology, with this name is hardware. What is hardware? Hardware, we all know that this basically includes the electronic and mechanical device that processes the data, refers to the computer as well as peripheral devices. If I talk about this can be a hardware, or this can also be a hardware. Anything which is electronic or mechanical, we are having in the form of electronic and mechanical form. So we always called it hardware. So if I talk about the software part, what is software? Software is nothing but a program that tells the computer how to perform particular task. Means we are having so many hardware. This board is also a hardware. You are watching my video, also you are having some kind of hardware, any mobile phone or laptop. So this is basically all about the hardware part. But what is software is doing over here? Software is providing the interface to perform a task. Software is providing the medium to perform any task over the hardware. So this is the basic terminology of computer, hardware and software. Next we are having network. What is network? Network is basically two or more computers and other devices that are connected for the purpose of sharing data and programs. Means network is something kind of medium where we are having two or more computers or any device, not only computer, we can also consider any other devices here, other devices that are basically connected to each other for any purpose or kind of sharing data or any task. They want to share their data, they want to perform a similar task with all including devices. So this facility basically provided by the network. So what is peripheral devices? Peripheral devices basically used to expand the computer's input, output and storage capability. Earlier we have seen that system has some input, some output, some storage kind of task. So how we will do? We will do all these tasks with the help of peripheral devices. So basically these are the devices which use for this kind of input, output and storage capabilities task. Okay. So next we are having input data. We are also earlier we have seen so many terms regarding input, output. What are these input and output? What is input basically? Input is basically whatever we are giving into the computer system. Means if this is a computer system and I am giving a kind of instruction to this, just solve these my questions or just add two numbers, whatever the kind of instruction I am giving to the system or whatever kind of data I am giving to the system, this is basically the input for the computer system. And what is data? Data is basically refers the symbol that represent facts, objects or ideas. Okay, it is very clear. There should not be any kind of confusion that what is data. It is basically a combination of symbols or combination of instructions. These are basically a simple data definition. And what is information? Information is basically the result of the computer storing data as bits and bytes the words, numbers, sounds and graphics. Whatever the process data we are having, with having some kind of process with that, yeah, process data, this is basically the information. And in the last we are having the output. What is output? Output is basically consists of the processing result produced by the computer. Means after having some kind of input, data input, and after having some information, the system has processed all the data over here, and it also returned some information or some data at the output form. So whatever it is returning to us, it is basically the output. So next we are having, what is processing? Processing is basically manipulation of data in many ways. In earlier we are doing some kind of approaches over here. Whatever approaches we are doing inside the computer system to perform any task, this is basically the processing method, processing process. So manipulation of data in many ways. In the short, we can say this is the basically processing. Okay, and now we are having memory. What is memory? Memory is basically a very old word. We all know the term memory. Memory, every device, whatever, if we are connecting with the computer, is nowadays having memory, some smaller or larger. We are human, we are having some kind of memory with us. So basically, if we are talking about the computer organization, area of the computer that temporarily holds data waiting to be processed, stored or output. Whatever it was storing over here in this, it is basically the memory part. Okay, so this is basically the memory. In detail, we will also study about the memory input output in our next upcoming slides. So next we are having, what is storage? Storage basically area of the computer that holds data on the permanent basis when it is not immediately needed or processing. This is basically the storage. I hope you have learned so many basic terminology which I am going to use in this subject series. So you should aware about the basic terminology. After having the idea of this basic terminology, you will get ease to understand the topic. So next we are having our topic, functional unit of computer system. This is our main topic of today's video. So what is functional units of computer system? First, we should know about the functional units. What are the functional, why we are calling it as a functional units? Functional units basically whatever kind of thing, unit which is working with the computer system, which is helping to work, to solve, to perform any task inside the computer system. That is basically a functional unit, or we can say any kind of functional unit of a computer system. These are basically the parts of the CPU. CPU is what? Central processing unit that performs the operation and calculation called for by computer program. So a computer consists of 5 main components, namely input, output, central processing unit, and memory unit, arithmetic logical unit, control unit and output unit. These are the basic 5 components or functional units of a computer system. Here you can see that we are having a small diagram over here of functional unit of a computer system. Here you can see that there is an input unit, output unit, memory unit, ALU and control and processor. Here you also you have a basic idea about what is input, what is output, what is memory. I just want to give you a brief introduction in a single or 1 or 2 lines about ALU and control. ALU is something arithmetic logical unit. Whenever we have to perform any kind of arithmetic or logical operation inside the computer system, we always perform this task with the help of ALU. Okay, and what is control? This is also a unit. Control unit. What is control unit? Control unit is basically a unit which is responsible for all over the control inside the computer system. This is a basic single line introduction of these both units, and the combination of ALU and control unit, basically we call it processor. Okay, so there is a small task for you. Just have a brief idea about, here I have written processor, here I am writing central processing unit. Just think about it. Are they similar or there is something difference? So this is your task. You have to understand about the difference of processor and central processing unit. After studying my all the videos, you will get the clarity, because you have to do some tasks by your own. Then you can get more interest in this subject. So let's continue. I have given you a brief introduction with the diagram of functional units of computer system. So first unit we were having was input unit. So I'm going to study about, I'm going to tell you about more about the input unit. What is input unit? Input units are used by the computer to read the data. Okay. Whenever we are having a device, this device wants to read some data, wants to get some information or data from us or any other device. It is basically the input for it. Okay, so input units are used, it has to use this input unit to get the data from the user or any other device. So commonly used input devices are keyboards, mouse, joystick, trackballs, microphones. I think you all are aware with this and already worked with the keyboard, mouse, joystick, trackballs, microphones. So you have a small daily life connection with these input units. Okay. So next we are having output unit. Output unit is something, the primary function of the output unit is to send processed result to the user. Whenever it is giving any kind of output or processed result, it has to give to the output unit. Output unit having only one task. It always get data from the system and gives us. Okay. So output device display information in a way that the user can understand. If let's suppose a blind person is using the system, how it will get the output? It will he or she may get output by a sound output in the form of sound, or any touch, graphics, in other form where it can sense. Okay. So whenever we are having a different kind of medium, like if I want to have the data in the form of signal, the output unit can provide us in the data in the form of output unit. So next we are having memory unit. What is memory unit? The memory unit can be referred to as the storage area in which programs are kept, which are running, and that contains data needed by running programs. Okay, first point is very clear to you. The second point is saying that the memory unit can be characterized in two ways, namely primary memory and secondary memory. Means if we are here, we are talking about the memory part. Memory we are having of two types. This is basically the primary and secondary. We are having two types. Okay. So what is primary storage or memory? This is basically a fastest. Primary memory are RAM and ROM, and it is also a fastest memory that operates at the electronic speed. Okay. The examples are RAM and ROM. And if I talk about the secondary memory is basically used when a large amount of data or program we have to store for long-term basis. Okay, comparative to primary memory. So example of secondary memory are magnetic disk, magnetic tape, and optical disk. To get data from secondary memory is slower than the primary memory. Whenever we have to take data from the primary memory, we can get it from fastest way. Okay. So this is all about the memory unit. Next we are going to study about the arithmetic and logical unit. So what that arithmetic and logical unit do? Let's come. Okay, so most of all the arithmetic and logical operation of a computer are executed in the ALU. ALU is what? Arithmetic and logical unit. Okay, so of the processor part. It performs arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and also the logical operation like AND or NOT. These are the basic logical operations. Okay, so this is our working. This is the working of arithmetic and logical unit. Next we are having Control unit. The control unit is a component of a computer's central processing unit that coordinates the operation of the processor. Control unit is having only one task of coordination among all the units or the devices. It tells the computer's memory, arithmetic or logic unit, and input and output device how to respond to a program's instruction. Whenever any kind of instruction is coming to this control unit, it is basically sending the control signals, okay, or to all other units. It is also managing and coordinating between all the units. The control unit is also known as the nerve center of computer system. Okay, so this is all about the control unit. Now we have to study about the interconnection between functional components. These are the functional component you have seen. Now we are moving towards how they are interconnecting with each other. How these tasks are performing by themselves, how they are performing. So the interconnection between functional components, here we have to start from the microcomputers. Basically in microcomputers, a common bus architecture is used. Input unit, processing unit, and output unit, and memory. These all are the device which we have to provide the communication between them, and which they have to communicate with each other through a common bus. Means if we are having some it is memory, it is input, it is output, it is ALU, and it is CU. Okay, and they have to communicate with each other. How they will communicate? They will use a single common bus. They all will use this single common bus. This bus will provide the communication medium between all these functional units. Okay, so the bus can be of three types: address bus, data bus, and control bus. The address bus carries the address, location of the data or the instruction. Means it always carries the address location of any task. Next, the data bus carries data from one component to another component, and control bus carries the control signals. Okay, so control bus is only carrying the signals, and data bus is carrying the data among all the functional units. So in last, I just want to give you a brief diagrammatic view of interconnection between functional components. So here you can see in this diagram, this is our main memory, and this is basically our processor part, which is the combination of CU and ALU. It also contains some kind of register, and here you can see it is named as a CPU. Okay, so here it also contains some kind of register which they use for their calculation time, and they are connected with the system bus. What this is system bus? System bus is basically the combination of data bus, address bus, and control bus. Combination of these three bus, we can call it as a system bus. So by a system bus, main memory is connected, the CPU is connected, and the output is connected, and input devices are connected with this with the help of these controller with the system bus. So this system bus is only providing the interconnection between all these components. So here in this video, we have learned about what are the basic history of computer system, basic terminology, because this is our first video of this subject series, and rest we have learned about the basic functional units of a computer system. These were the 5: input unit, output unit, memory unit, CU, control unit, and ALU, arithmetic and logical unit. These were the 5 basic introductive functional unit. And next last we have learned about the interconnection of among these functional components. So here you have seen the bus is the one who provides the interconnection between all these components. So for this video, we have covered all the basic introduction. So if you have any query, you can write the question over here. Okay, so I think today you have understood all the basic topics. So I'll see you in next video. Thank you.